Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Grass Studio Maulers. I'm Dave Forrest with my good friend
Harvey Lowe
and very special guest, Dave Browne.
Hi guys, good to see you again.
Nice to have you back, Dave.
Yeah,
nice it's great to have you.
It's been a stretch with COVID and what have you, and closing of the hobby shop. It's probably been 3 years.
Yeah.
Probably at least 3 years.
At least, yeah, if not more, a little bit more than that, I think.
Yeah. And these videos originally started at your store, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
it was a breakthrough thing with just me on my own.
Yeah.
And then of course, I couldn't keep up with the speed of building the models, so I don't know how Andy's Hobbies does it. The guy turns out endless amounts.
Yeah, he just doesn't sleep.
He doesn't sleep.
He doesn't sleep, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I had to rely on you to come and fill in the weeks that I wasn't doing it. So here we are.
Yeah, you got me into this, right? If it wasn't for you, the Garage Studio Maulers wouldn't exist, really. I don't think. So.
Yeah, and I think that Hornet Hobbies was one of the originals.
Yeah.
Of doing,
the videos,
the videos.
Yeah.
And I think people have benefited, obviously, by our comments. People certainly, we got nice feedback all the time.
And even as recently as the latest show, people were coming up to me and saying, "Hey, I saw these videos," and some of them were here, and some of them were back at the store when we did them, right? So people I think go back and look at them and refresh sometimes if they see something they like, right?
Exactly. I was speaking to a guy at a model show yesterday, and he said it's just a refresher. He went back to a video that we shot 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was a refresher on the Russian Matilda. So there you go. But I guess the techniques, we change our techniques here and there and everywhere. What Shep Payne did or Francois Verlinden was doing, we've just sort of soaked all that up, and here it is 2023, and we're there's still a touch of all those guys in our models for sure.
Absolutely, and then the evolution of all the new products that are out, right? That just make it give you new options and make it easier.
Yeah,
right. It's been an amazing past 4, 5, 6 years on that.
Well, you mentioned Shep Payne and Berlinden. Would you say then that the techniques and artistry is changed and is still evolving? Would you think? Or some people say, well, how much can you do with basic techniques? I think it's kind of organically evolving. Wouldn't you think?
Oh yeah, I think so for sure. I've been fortunate enough to see Shep's recently, even though he's passed. The stuff that he must have been like the Wayne Gretzky or the Tom Brady of his time, because I recently saw one of his that could have won a gold medal that day, and it was a 30-year-old model. So he's a little different because he was way ahead of his game. But like you said, Harvey, we've all the things that won Best in Show, say 15 years ago, they would be winning silver medals today.
Yeah,
indeed.
They might,
And I think one of the reasons for that is because of the videos. People learn techniques and they can run it back and replay it and then apply again and again and again. And the books today, and you have a guy like Mig who is front and center of it all, and he's what can you say about the man? I mean,
he kickstarted all of this.
He kickstarted a lot of these pigments and the way that we weather things today. And hats off to Mig, and Mike Rinaldi and the Tank Art books.
Yeah,
the Tank Art books. I don't know when year
when
would they
was
have come
that?
out with that? Like early 2000, like 2005, 2006.
No, I think they were later than that. I think they were more 20. I want to say 2014, 2015.
Yeah, maybe. I think. I'm sure Mike's gonna make a comment on when he brought them out. But
when I was in Tokyo just before COVID, I was in one of the large bookstores and I saw one of his books. But it wasn't just one of his books. It was in Japanese. Like they had translated the title and it was all in Japanese. I don't know if you know this, Mike. I don't know if you know that.
And Shep Payne's books were translated, I think, to 12 different languages.
Yeah.
That's
some high number like that. It's terrific. Yeah. So Mig Mike Rinaldi, when those Tank Art, at least volume 1 through 4, they also, you could just sit there and we all did it. We all opened that book and sat there for an hour, just blown away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You could look at a series of images of what he did, and like, how did you do that? How do you and try and think about how you could replicate that on your model. Right?
And they were so well photographed.
Yeah,
like Mike obviously had a great eye, or does have a great eye for photography. So the quality of the books was fantastic.
I still take, if I see a photo in his book or any other book that's really good, I actually take the photo of a photo on my iPad and I have it sitting on my desk so I can, the book's kind of floppy.
You're trying to replicate.
I'm trying to replicate, so I have it right there and go, okay, that's what I want. I still got the book there.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
I got two hands and there's ways of just,
And you don't want to muck up
you don't want
a Rinaldi book either.
Right.
So it's a great idea to do what you did. It's to, and so yes, things have changed, but we circle back, and like these are, 2023 things that I've brought out.
Yep.
But I'm sure that in 2025, these will be, I won't even be looking at these anymore.
There's a segue. Look at these. Look at these.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting to think about what, where the hobby, the finishing can go, right? Because you kind of think, hey, has it reached the peak? And, I think there's always ways you can push that, right?
Yes.
So. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we're not saying that those of you out there have to always do that. It's having fun. But I think part of having fun is pushing that envelope to challenge yourself. That's how I feel.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we're not saying that everybody has to do that. But I think that if you're in this wonderful hobby, there's always new things coming out.
Well, you're gonna enjoy the process more if you're happy with the product,
especially the outcome.
Yeah.
Well, the outcome.
It's a journey to that outcome, but I think the outcome is a big determinant on how much you enjoy it. Right?
Well,
if you're not happy with it,
look at this outcome, right?
This is
and people out there in television land, they can't worry about success or failure at a model show because that is the farthest thing from. I mean, you can go to a show, and you never know what's going to come on any given day. You come there and you've worked 40 hours on your tank, and you show up at a show, but some guy, it was his day,
Yes.
And he just brought the most amazing looking tank ever. He read Rinaldi from sentence to sentence, and he puts it down. So the result is you end up with a silver medal. Don't let that slow you down or do anything.
Can't let that define you. Yeah, for sure.
I would only say to the guys that if it's the best that you could do, then don't worry about it. It doesn't matter if you finished first or third or didn't get a prize.
Yeah, if you're happy with what you've done.
Absolutely. I put these on my shelves, and I'm very happy to, and as you guys know from TV land, I always put bases with groundwork and what have you. I have a nice base for this one. It just displays better for our purposes today on this base. But I have groundwork to go with this with a sort of Korean, because this is a Sherman from the Korean War. I have a little pond and I have a little dock scene that when I take this home today, I'm going to drop it in my showcase in its setting. So I always make groundwork and add to the models. But these models are both Tamiya. This is Tamiya's from probably 2000. It's their 105 howitzer, and probably with 2 hours of making weld seams and making grab handles that are made out of brass. That you can grip. Other than that, this is a great little kit, and I've had those 3D printed light guards on both of them.
Well, there's something new, right? The 3D.
Yeah, the 3D.
Right?
Yeah.
That had been 20 years ago. Now, sorry, David, to interrupt. You mentioned the weld beads took only 2 hours?
Well, at the most. I mean,
really?
probably less than that. Because on Sherman tanks or any photographs, really, because I don't have a place to go and visit Sherman tanks that often, but there's one in our armory near where I live. But in any event, those old Tamiya kits, they never get tired. They are the greatest. And once again, we don't have to get, I don't want to say bogged down, but there's kits out there that have 500 parts in the box. And sometimes, sometimes what happens is you are working on just building it for 4 weeks or 5 weeks.
Well, that's why
and
you
know
what?
And then you go to your local hobby shop and something else grabs you, and your thing you just spent 5 weeks on gluing together. You haven't even touched the paint yet, and then you're sort of jumping, and suddenly at the end of the year you've got 6 that are partially built. Right. My suggestion is buy Tamiya, build it in 3 days with the weld beads and the grab handles that are made out of brass, and just get painting.
Well, that's why I asked the question, how long? Because some guys go, look at this. It must have taken them, weeks to do all that super detailing. You're right. Don't get bogged down in taking 5 days to do weld bead seams.
Don't get bogged down in any of it. And then once you get to where your modeling is, where you're satisfied with it, then switch to those, say, Ryefield Fireflies or Ryefield Shermans, and really go to town and spend 3 months from top to bottom doing your kit, and you'll have a blast. But develop your finishing skills first, and then if you really have a super kit like Ryefield or whatever, just jump right on and go to town. But
there's a lot of aftermarket. Like if you do want to detail up some of those little kits, if you want to spend, like there's so much available out there, right? Like for the old Tamiya kits and stuff.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
easy.
Well, this Tamiya kit is probably 30 years old. But now, I'm just going to say, to be honest, these are Dragon running gear. That's incorrect. That's from the Tamiya M10, that brand new M10 that they brought out a couple of years. Because one of the things about this kit is that the bogey system with the original model is just a little tired. It shows its age.
Yep.
But so these are all these running gears from the M10. But with a half a day's energy.
Yeah.
These are fantastic.
Yeah, those will kit like for like to test out a painting scheme or something. I remember I did that with I took one of the Tamiya Shermans and built it basically out of the box.
The M4.
Yeah, and just that was my first major all
Yeah, it was and we combined that with a little diorama.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so
they really hold their age very well. They do.
Did you replace the barrel on that one?
No, replace nothing. Replace nothing. Nothing whatsoever. Nothing is replaced other than the running gear.
Now, a bit of history on this. What is it an M4? I'm not a Sherman
Okay,
expert.
so this is an M4A3
Okay.
with a 105 turret, and this is a same difference. Later suspension, but it's a M4A3 105.
Korean one.
Korean War.
But
This is World War II.
This is Battle of the Bulge.
Ah, okay.
Now, the Allies used this in World War II, especially at Okinawa, but not the Marines. The Marines never used this style of suspension.
Is that right?
So they would have used that, and there's very few pictures of this tank in the European theater of war. They're headquarter tanks. I don't know if there was 20 or 100, But there's so many good books out on the Sherman that maybe I've just forgotten. One of the other things, if you're taking a look at this tank, is that the Marines never piled anything on the back until the Korean War. Only because they were fighting in the islands. The islands were a mile wide, and they went home at night to some degree. So, all these things on the back of these tanks are because you have to sort of carry your home with you, right? Your blankets, your things, your comforts, So, and the Marines in the Pacific at the end of World War II didn't have to do that. But once they got into the Korean theater,
interesting,
where it was a big country. It's not like a little island hopping in the Pacific.
Right.
So then the Marines had to carry their jets.
It's interesting because you kind of need that historical context and detail, right, to kind of really situate the model.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's important to.
Like for instance, if I was to model this tank as a U.S. Marine, not this exact version, but a Sherman tank, say U.S. Marines in World War II, if I had this all piled up on the back, that would be incorrect. I'm not that picky a modeler where I'm going to shoot down on a guy and say, the Marines never piled their belongings up on their tanks. Because somewhere, you always know, there's a picture in a book.
Yes.
And it's a little corner where the Marines carried everybody's for 15 tanks. They piled everything on.
Well, that's part of the fun, is to try and do the research and kind of find those details that kind of really pin the model to a particular
and
time and
sometimes
place.
And sometimes, like what inspired me to do this Korean Sherman, I'm reading a good book by Sloan. It's John Sloan. It's a, is that his first name? I'd hate to get that wrong. But anyway, but it's the Marines in the early stages of the Korean War.
Nice.
And so what happens, and I think we've all done it. We've all read a novel or a book or something, and then it just triggers.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna go out and build that tiger tank tomorrow. I'm just reading this
You know,
book.
you know what I would do? I would have that on my desk and while watching a Korean War movie.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it goes the other way too. Well, it's
Exactly.
finished, but I'm gonna sit here
That's
with
part
it.
of the,
and
that's part of
watch
the fun of the
It's
hobby,
part
right?
of
You
the
see
fun.
something, you get motivated,
Yeah.
right? It takes you in a bit of a different direction. It's fun to go down those rabbit holes.
And this is also Tamiya, you mentioned?
Yeah.
This one's Tamiya. This one's also
Yeah.
Tamiya.
you do a bit of kit bashing here and there.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it doesn't have that actual kit. I had to steal the turret out of this kit.
Nice.
And there'll be a little bit of brass here and there, but I don't go to town on it because I'm 63. My eyesight isn't what it used to be, and you know what? I got stacks of models. I want to get the building.
Stacks of models?
Yeah. We're
So yeah, so I don't want to get bogged down. That's why I buy Tamiya.
So total summary, how long to do this whole, excluding the groundwork, to do this one and this one? How
Okay, so probably 90 days.
Okay.
You know, give or take, maybe a little less.
Yeah.
Not like 90 days each. Not total.
Yeah.
You know, but 90 days is 3 months. I could have probably done it, you know, a lot quicker.
Yeah, you
did you-
probably got other projects on the go
Yeah.
on that
Right.
side, right? It's not just
Yeah.
that. It's not.
Did you do these two at the same time?
Almost like back to back. Like I did the Marine one first, and then this one, which is still in progress because this being European theater war, this has got all the baggage to come.
Because what I find that helps me is if I'm doing two of these, I would do stage at one point. You know what I mean?
Right.
And rather than do one and do the other, it just helps me with my time because I hate cleaning airbrush. So I time it so that, right, you're doing the green on the, I might as well do the green on this turret, you know?
Right.
Sometimes.
Yes. And the greens, you know, like they're slightly different. I mean, this would be it's 1950, so this tank would have been 6 years old by the time it, you know. So there's that effect. I mean, these were all stationed in Japan after World War II, and then the Marines took them over when the Korean War got cooking. So they would have sat in the sun. They weren't indoors.
Right.
Did they get a paint job after World War II?
Why would they?
You know, maybe, but maybe not. You know.
I learn something new every day. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Right?
So the greens on this would be slightly different.
I can see it.
So
And what is your like go-to for olive drab? Like, how do you? What's
my olive drab is not XF62 by Tamiya, which is their olive drab. I find it's just too red and dark.
Yeah.
You know. So I go to Tamiya numbers again. XF81, which is their RAF green.
Okay.
You know, came out when the big 30-second Spitfire came out. They brought out a green. So that's XF81. And I mix a little bit of XF4, you know, to get, you know,
The yellow.
a little bit of yellow. Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah,
here.
you can see it.
Yeah.
But then the key, though, is I mix a little bit of gloss with the colors.
So you get that eggshelly type finish.
Yeah, I just gravitate towards that eggshell finish.
So the gloss would also be Tamiya, the little gloss.
Yeah.
Like the X22. And then you don't coat your models with anything after.
No, I don't even coat them when I decal them. You know, I can lay down the decals because there's a hint of eggshell in the paint already. I don't spray it with gloss and then put the decals on.
See, I'd be afraid to chance it.
So
To
me
be
too.
honest,
Me
to be
too.
honest, I'd
Yeah,
be
no,
afraid
it-
to chance it. Yeah. But it
So
seems to
far,
work, yeah.
so
It
far,
does.
But you can't argue with the finished product.
No, you're looking at it bounce off the light, and the semi sheen is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Battle of the Bulge, of course, this tank would have been snowed on and dried and snowed on and dried. And so there's going to be a little dampness on it, too. You know, just like my tanks aren't glossy, but they're definitely not.
And we'll get some close-up shots of these tanks. But I'm just looking here, and some of the very subtle streaking, like it looks layered. It looks wonderfully done, Dave.
Beautiful.
Oh, thank you. You know, and there's well, you know what? All I can suggest is to stay with your books, those who and the Sherman tank. I mean, I think there's more books on the Sherman tank than there is on Gettysburg. So,
Yeah.
books.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe gardening is way above those two combined. But anyway, stick with your references.
Yeah.
Don't just jump out and
Look at that.
Yeah.
So
Beautifully done.
yeah. So what I'm going to do today is as far as modeling goes, I'm just going to focus on the front ends. I'll turn these around so the camera can see. I'm not going to focus on weathering a Sherman. I'm going to focus on putting the mud on the Shermans. So I'm going to take the front plate of this and basically turn it into a late war Battle of the Bulge type of
Nice.
thing.
Nice.
Now all those kinds of things would carry on throughout the back of the tank, but you're going to be able. If I isolate, I think the viewer will get a lot more out of what we're doing,
Agreed.
and then he can.
Yeah,
He or she
extend that
can-
back.
Yeah,
Extend that back to
extend it back.
the rest of the tank. Yeah.
So, and I think I could do it in about 2 episodes, and then later on in the season. I mean, as most of you guys know, I live far away now. In miles, about 200 miles north of Toronto. But I do have my children here, my grown-up children, who are in their 30s. So I do come down to Toronto,
Perfect.
every 5 or 6 weeks.
Yep.
So what we'll do is we'll build in, as this project goes along,
Yeah.
we'll build in a few days
Yeah.
to come here
Yeah.
and do some
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, maybe we'll have 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Sure.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
So
that's what we do on this channel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so
Beautiful.
yeah, we'll have some fun, and
Yep.
2023 will be, sort of my return to the
A
video.
comeback year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you won't be a special guest, but you'll be a regular guest with a regular.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So,
fantastic.
Like you
Absolutely.
did before.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
and maybe depending on timelines and how much I come back to Toronto, maybe we could do some groundwork again.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. But we'll just concentrate on the front end of that. Now, I guess just to start off, what I've done with this tank is my RAF green, XF 81, a little bit of yellow added, a little bit of gloss white, and a little bit of gloss. Just regular clear Tamiya gloss. So just to jump ahead and so that someone doesn't just spray with 81 and say, all right, put the decals on and here we are. This has got a little touch of a few little things in it. And what I'm going to do momentarily is just give it a little... People put mud on, but they forget about the mud that arrived 3 days ago. Or
Right.
on the shores of the beach, or on the, in the farmer's field that was 2 weeks ago. Some guys apply the mud just on here. They just cake mud on here, but they've forgotten that this tank didn't come out of the showroom.
Right.
This thing is landed in Norman. No, not this particular version, but these things arrive on the battlefield, and
There's a journey.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a journey.
Yeah.
There's 7 towns, and miles, 200 miles of gravel and stirred up farmers' fields and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so what I'll do is I'll give it a little this thing of buff. Do I have my little buff here? Here we go. So I'll just give this
Just a little mist.
just a little mist.
And that's your base. Like you do
Yep.
these at the base. So that's
That-
interesting because I do that after.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So I do it. So I'll get the mud on there first.
Right.
Kind of get it to a point where I like, kind of blend it in, and then this like a light mist of a dust colored buff, or I think it's a buff or something.
Yep.
Something mixed with buff. That's interesting. You do that first.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
To
Well,
blend
you know,
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So I kind of blend it at the end.
I do what Dave does.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all
Interesting.
different.
Yeah.
And what'll happen is sometimes we look at what we thought was a finished product,
Yeah.
but it just needs
Yes.
tweaking.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And I think every great artist, it doesn't matter if you're on canvas or plastic models or quilting or something. Sometimes you just know something isn't right.
Well,
It's
yeah.
not.
Well, it's that eye, right?
It's
that
your
eye.
eye.
You
That's the
have-
whole thing. It's
It is
the
the
eye.
Yeah.
Looking at, okay, is it done? What do I need to do? What do I need to enhance? And it's kind of, you develop that
You do.
by just doing it over and
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So to your point, at the end of what I thought was the end, I may say this needs a touch.
Just
It does.
Touch of buff, you know. You know. So why don't I?
Yeah, we'll let you get set up.
Yeah, I'll get set up, and then what we'll do is give it a light thing of buff, and then I know this says asphalt, AK products, but this asphalt is a great mud, and everybody's gonna say, oh, "Are you nuts? It's jet black and it's semi-gloss." So I'm gonna add a few things to this asphalt to turn it into a farmer's field mud.
Nice. Okay.
And what's neat is, especially on Russian armor, you know, where those things travel is unbelievable. But anyway, bogs and like the poor Russians, right?
They're known for their mud.
Holy smokes! And what's great about what I'm going to show as far as the mud goes is it's you can use it in a contemporary setting. Unfortunately, with the things going on in Europe right now, on YouTube or wherever, we're seeing a lot of tank warfare.
Yeah.
And a lot of kicked up gravel, mud, and slush, and we're just coming out of winter. So this might, you know, the things that I show you today, you can apply them to your Ukrainian settings and dioramas and what have you like that too.
Yeah.
So, and I use asphalt versus this AK make terrain, dry mud, wet mud, this, that, and the next. But when I show you guys using the asphalt, you'll just, it's just I'm not a fan of the mud that looks a little bit like Hershey's dark chocolate.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Why this? Yes.
So I haven't been to Europe in the cold winter. I've been to Europe, but you know, in the summertime, you know, we all went to Italy, right? In nice June weather. Yeah. But so when I say I'm not a fan of the Hershey's chocolate type of mud, it's just a preference. That might be the way, and the color. I mean, AK is in Spain. I believe it's in Spain, and so they know the color of the groundwork in Spain or in Europe, and it's just my preference. It's not that
it's interesting because I use like I have like they do like a dark brown, and that's what I use. Yeah, but I like it. But to your point, I like going dark with it because you can always lighten it up, whether it's with a dust coat or with pigments or something else. Right. That's starting. So I'm very curious to see how this works with that
so
black dark gray color. Yeah.
And the thing that inspired me to get here was Lester Plasky. Recently did a Sherman tank, a late war Sherman tank in a farmer's field. Fantastic model. Really
he's
terrific,
a very talented molder.
And he went out. He went at length about. And next time I'm shooting this, I'll bring the article. But Lester used the product that you're talking about, and it looks terrific on his model. And he lives over in that neck of the woods, so he knows better than I know. I use this because I'm in Canada, and these are the things that I see when I travel in the wintertime. So basically, you could say that these Shermans are actually in Ontario.
But
based on the groundwork and you know the colors.
But I mean the groundwork looks very very convincing. So.
But I find that if you guys are ever like me stuck in traffic in Toronto, what do? I look at the mud on the trucks.
Absolutely.
And it gives 100%. Right? It gives you an idea not only in the color, but where it should go, how is it drying. And if you go on a rainy day, you can see the mud, the new mud, and the old mud. Right?
Have we all not sat in our cars and then there's a dump truck in front of you with the mud flaps, and you take a picture from your windscreen of his mud flaps.
You're a modeler.
We've all done that.
We've all done it.
Yeah, we've all done it.
Back to references, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe it's because of the Ontario mud flaps on dump trucks, I've come up with this. Yes. I mean, I don't know, and I'm not too worried about it. Lester is a fantastic Plasky is a fantastic mauler, so he's not wrong.
Yeah.
I'm probably closer to wrong using asphalt versus what he uses. But anyway, in any event, I'm going to demonstrate how I do it.
All right.
And here's a little, I just did a little bit of groundwork with the same product.
Well,
now, it might be hard to see when I've added a little puddle there.
Yeah.
I've
That's
added
fantastic.
some Sherman
It's got
tracks.
texture to it too. It's got thickness to it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna show the audience how to, come up with this.
Beautiful.
So there's a little sample here too,
That's amazing.
and it's acrylic, so it's great because I can use the Tamiya products, the different thinners.
Yeah, it cleans up in
and
water
and water and what have you. It cleans up nice and it doesn't smell and things like that. So
beautiful.
all right, guys.
Yeah,
So
well,
let me
we'll
put
let
a
you set
little
up
coat of buff.
Yeah,
and
yeah. Get to it.
I'll get to it.
Okay, sounds good. We'll be right back.